This is Will Nunziata, New York City-based director and creator of theater, television, and film. And today I'm absolutely thrilled to be speaking with an incredible Renaissance man. He is an actor, a director, a teaching artist, a combat artist, and more. Mr. CHRIS Plonka. Hello, Chris. How are you?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm good. Did I say your last name correctly?
Yes, you did. That was perfect.
Great. I mean, look at with a name like Nunziata, I got to check.
The hard
Listen,
last
Chris.
name's got to represent.
Yeah, God bless America. Well, listen, you now live in Harlem, New York. You just moved to New York City a few months ago. Congratulations.
Yep.
Where'd you move from?
Thank you. So I moved from Indiana. I was there for the past 3 years getting my master's in acting. So I was born in Massachusetts originally, grew up there, spent most of my career there, went to go get my master's, and I said, hey, why not? I just spent the last 3 years year and a half of it in the middle of a pandemic trying to get my master's. May as well start trying to actually do things now. So that's what brought me here.
That's absolutely amazing. I mean, I love the fact that you also grew up in Massachusetts, even though I grew up in New York. Mainly, I went to school at Boston College. So Boston is very near and dear to my heart.
I do love Boston. A lot of great art happening there. It's a really fun city.
Talk to me about your time at the University of Indiana and how you were able to manage that Indiana University, God bless, now I'm changing its name, how you were able to manage that in this thing called a pandemic.
Yeah, no, well, when we first got there, obviously, things were still good. It was great. A lot of focus, obviously, on, voice, movement, acting technique, the things you would expect in an acting-centric master's program. Once we got into the pandemic, I actually feel like I learned most of what I learned there in that pandemic because I just had to do the things myself. We still had classes, we still had connections with faculty, but it was all online for the most part. And even once we got back into the hybrid in-person format, there was still just that lingering sense of what is going to happen after all of this. There's so much still unknown in the industry. So we were all trying to figure it out together. So what ended up happening is I just started figuring out what are the things that really appeal to me. And that's how I started really falling into combat. I could still go out into the park with my swords and still practice my targets. It's like, okay, well, I can still do this on camera. So why not start doing some of that stuff? I also fell into doing a lot of voiceover. I used my stimulus funds to invest in a bunch of microphones and filming equipment. And I was just like, you know what? If I'm going to be stuck here doing something, I may as well make it productive.
Chris, this is what I love about your story. And sorry to interrupt, because I just want to let our audience know we have a lot of young artists who watch these interviews and who are coming on board this amazing new app, FENIX360. And you're such a perfect example of someone who used something that might have been looked at as a negative, but you looked at it as an opportunity to dig into some skill sets that either you were already adding into your tool belt or those that you've always had and had an interest in the fact that you constantly were evolving as an artist. Talk to me about combat and how, I mean, I can only imagine that there's like this little Chris was like screaming with joy when you found out that this was part of the art of acting in theater,
Yeah. So I've always enjoyed it. I did martial arts growing up, and then I was also a dancer growing up. So really stage combat is like the perfect marriage of dancing and martial arts. There's a lot of martial technique, but like at the end of the day, it's still choreography. And when I'm teaching stage combat, I'm often telling people this makes no sense martially, but this is how we have to do it in order to perform it safely on the stage. So for me, it just ended up being this thing where I was able to really sit in my body, which has always been a kind of difficult thing for me as an actor. For some reason, I struggled to really feel comfortable, but it's like all of a sudden I have intention. I have purpose in all of my movements, which I was then able to connect to the rest of my acting. One of the first things I always tell students when I'm working with them is that when it comes to combat specifically, is that, they often say when you're doing musicals, the reason why characters start breaking into song and dance is because they need to express something that words alone can't express. It's the same thing with combat. So when I'm working on a show that involves combat, it's like, what's the story of this combat? Yeah, we want something that looks cool and dynamic on the stage or on screen, but we also need to make sure we're telling a clear story. What are our intentions? What are our objectives? What is the quality of this action as we move forward? What are we trying to do to the other person? So there were a lot of really great lessons I could take out of learning and doing combat and bring into the rest of my acting. And so that's something I bring into my teaching as well. I think it's very valuable for all actors to learn.
Well, listen, Chris, you do it all, but the fact that you not only take it upon yourself to showcase these skills, but you have the capacity to share it with others as a teacher and an educator is incredible. I could speak with you all day. I want to let the audience know for more on the incredible Chris, including a link to see his incredible theatrical reel in all that he's done and has coming up. Please go to the links below. Chris, it is such a pleasure to meet you. Congratulations on the move to New York. And hey, you never know, I would love to collaborate with you one day. We're in New York.
That's great. Sounds great. That's the beauty of being in New York. So many great artists around.
Absolutely, my friend. Really nice to meet you. And again, so exciting that you're coming on board this incredible new social media app, FENIX360. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. You too.